Speedsters, Breachers, Nanotech suits, Sorcerers. We've spent the last year creating Arzee's Multiverse mod, which brings superpowers inspired by Marvel and DC into modern Minecraft. This 1.20.1 add-on for Palladium allows you to obtain every single power in survival, craft and upgrade your supersuits, and adds unique powers no one has ever attempted in Minecraft before. And I'm joined by my developer Hertz to go over every single feature the mod has to offer. We're going to start by looking at by far the biggest part of this mod, Speedsters and the Speed Force. To get the Speed Force powers, you need to get struck by lightning with certain effects: regeneration, swiftness, and fire resistance. And Hertz is going to help me out with this.
All right, so I'm going to send you over to this little chamber here. We designed it just to strike you with lightning.
Looks perfect.
Stand on the little target block we've got there. Splash yourself with the potions.
Oh!
Oh, sorry, trigger finger. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Hey! And now, I am a speedster. You know that it worked once all of your icons appear. And the main power is your first one, super speed. Just like the Flash, when you run, you generate a lightning trail behind you. And how fast you're going can be adjusted by holding down C and scrolling. The more bars you have filled, the faster you're going. When you first get your powers, you only have 2 speed levels. But as you run, you gain more and more levels, which you can use to go faster. And once you get to a certain speed, which I believe is 3, if I'm not mistaken, you can then run on water. And this is about how quick you move through the world with this current speed.
And max speed naturally you could get is 9, but there's always other ways to get faster.
Right, which we'll get into in a minute. But first, we gotta go over our next ability, which is Tornado Arms. By holding down your second key, you can throw players and mobs back with a giant rush of air. The way Hertz made it, by at certain angles, you can actually kind of launch people.
Oh, oh.
The next ability we have is Wall Running. By holding down my third key and walking up to a wall, I can do this.
It scales with your speed, so the lower your speed level is, the slower you'll wall climb.
The fourth ability is Speed Punches, which allows you to punch your enemies really, really fast. All you have to do to use it is hold it down. And it does have an energy bar that replenishes when you stop using it. The speed punching actually changes based on the weapons you're holding in your hand. This is the speed punching normally. It does about 3.5, right? Now let's try it with the sword. Now it's doing 8 per. Just recently with the last update, hard capped it at 8, is that correct?
Yeah.
Obviously you can still pair it with normal swinging, so you can do like normal heavy swings while speed punching with the other hand, which is pretty cool. That's what I do when I fight as a speedster. The next ability we have is Phasing. For me it's X. By holding that, I can now walk through walls. Phasing turned out to be a lot more useful than I thought it was going to be. Here in Palladium and in modern versions, it's so much more useful because not only can you still walk and stay on a surface, but you can also use it to get out of caves, get out of situations that you normally wouldn't be able to get out of by phasing. The next thing we have to talk about is lightning throwing. You may notice that as you run, this bar on the left-hand side fills up, and that's your kinetic energy. Once it's full enough, you can toss lightning. And unlike in previous versions, you can now kind of hold on to that charge and throw it. Except I missed. Except I completely missed. And now in this new update, you can actually throw several at once.
Oh.
Sorry. We literally have dummies and I'm like throwing lightning at you.
I guess you'd expect, the lightning to stay with your color, but that implies, there's more lightning colors. Mm-hmm. And if you do the honors.
Yep, of course. To get the negative speed force, or red lightning, you basically have to hit yourself with all the same potions, but also add strength.
It was me, Barry. I was the one who got the red lightning.
So by adding the strength potion to the mix of effects, Hertz is a negative speedster with red lightning. Because of his red lightning, he now has all the red lightning abilities, including red lightning throwing. We don't just have those 2 colors. We have multiple others. Slash speed color 1. It looks like 1 is orange.
The icons of the abilities change alongside your speed color.
So now let's do speed color 2.
It is natural white lightning.
3.
It's blue. I wonder how you get that.
Get to that in a moment. 4.
That is the tachyon lightning, so artificial speed.
Artificial white lightning.
It's just basically a little bit desaturated.
Next we got 5, which that's the red. 6, which is the green. I love the look of the green. 7 is purple. This one is clean looking. 8 is pink, I think?
It's pink.
And then when we get into 9, we get into the double lightnings, right?
9 is actually Flash's lightning.
Flash the Titan, yeah. 10, this is a green and white one. 11
yeah,
is
that's mine.
What we're calling the Hertz lightning. And lastly, what I'm calling the Arrzee lightning. The yellow and black.
So of course we have all these different speed colors, but kind of the big one we want to take a look at is the blue one.
Velocity is a speedster serum that you can use to either enhance your already existing speed or to give yourself temporary speed.
Velocity, there's a bunch of different versions of it. You can craft it with Velocity Serum, which is just a mix of the potion effects needed and water breathing. And it gives you Velocity 1, actually. You then level that up to Velocity up to 10. So basically, we have these V9 injectors.
And the Velocity injectors are what you use to actually inject yourself with the Speed Serum. Here with a piston, an iron nugget, and the actual Velocity Serum.
So, of course, for an already existing Speedster, it'll make you faster. I mean, even if you take it right now, you should get an extra speed level.
Up my speed. You can see here, I'll take it. Is this, oh, this is Velocity 9. And there you go. I got that extra speed level and blue lightning, which is what Velocity 9 does to you.
The only one that doesn't change your speed color is actually Velocity X. It's still temporary speed, but it just doesn't give you the blue lightning. If you're not a speedster and you take Velocity, you'll start out with 1 speed level. But here's the problem. You don't gain speed XP from running as a Velocity speedster. Your speed force is artificial. So the only way to get faster and faster is to keep taking Velocity to get more speed levels.
Which sort of creates that effect that you would see in the Flash of like people take Velocity and they're like, I need more, right? Because the only way to continue to get faster is to take more serums.
The reason there's different levels of velocity is because each one caps your speed level. So Velocity 1, if you make it and inject it, only lets you have a max of 1 speed level. Velocity 2 only lets you have a max of 2. Velocity 3 lets you have a max of 3.
And then Velocity X is essentially...
It's perfected.
It's the perfected one.
It'll give you up to a max of 10 speed levels, which is actually 1 above the natural amount. So even a fully developed speedster will still get a bonus out of it.
Now let's talk about the actual Speedster suit, and that is my character from the Enhanced SMP, and that's Speedburst. So this is the first suit. It actually looks a little bit different with the retexturing. I like it. You craft them with magma cream, gold, and fabric. Obviously, magma cream and gold are just found in normal Minecraft, but the fabrics are all created using different colors of wool and string. This is my Speedster, and this is the base speed suit in the mod. To level it up and get faster, you can either, like we said, take V9, or you can use the Tachyon device, crafted by copper, titanium ingots, and a tachyon battery. So to craft a tachyon battery, you need iron, copper, redstone flux crystals from palladium, and a quartz circuit. In order to craft the tachyon device, you need to first charge the tachyon battery, which you can do by running.
If it's in either of your hands, once you hit max kinetic containment, it'll automatically dump all your kinetic energy into the tachyon battery.
So now that my bar is full, if I put it in my hand, now it becomes the charged tachyon battery. Now, by taking that charged tachyon battery, you can make the tachyon device. Using the Kuros menu, you can then take the tachyon device, goes on the body. If you look at the top right, I now have 3 more speed levels. And you can see it right here on my chest, and making me even faster than I already was. If you're like me, sometimes you can forget the tachyon device at home. You have an option to create the upgrade for Speedburst, which is the Speedburst tachyon suit. It does require the actual tachyon device as well as the actual suit. And titanium gold. And titanium gold is made by finding titanium and putting it together with gold. And it gives me the same level of speed, but has white lightning. The Tachyon Speedburst suit also gives you a double jump, which can allow you to, kind of travel a bit easier. You can wall run, but sometimes you also need a little bit of an extra boost. You also take no fall damage with the suit. I'm falling into a cave right now. I'm in a random cave at the very bottom. If you hold phase and then wall run, and you find a nice wall, there we go. Now I phased out. The last upgrade we have for the suit is the Speedburst shield, which is created using the chest piece. You do get it back, but you need to make a second tachyon device and have the suit to make the Speedburst shield. Not only a weapon for Speedburst, but also a way for Speedburst to defend himself. Oh. We also made a bunch of weapons in this mod better combat compatible, since it just looks so awesome. And Hertz added the throwing. It's so good. It sounds cool. It comes back to you too. So if I throw it, run over here. Here it comes. See that? It tracks you.
It's pretty great. It has a long range.
Yep. As a speedster, you do have a second menu for things we're going to add later, but you can also toggle the shield on your back if you have the shield. So it's meant to be sort of, based on Captain America's shield, right? But a golden titanium tachyon version of it. Next up, we got the electrokinesis power, represented in this mod by current. The way to get the electrokinesis powers, you also need to get struck by lightning, but not in the same way. You have to be struck by lightning while holding various redstone devices, the redstone lamp and the daylight sensor.
Fire in the hole!
Oh! And now that I've been holding 2 redstone devices, which kind of conduct the electricity through them and through my body, I now have electrokinesis. Electrokinesis is a dark matter-based ability that allows you to control electricity. So we're going to start with the Lightning Blast. So the Lightning Blast is done with C. It's basically the same as the Lightning Throw, but a little bit weaker.
Also not as fast, notably.
Yeah, not as fast, but you also don't have to charge them. You can just kind of keep going. Next up is the Lightning Beam with G, because it's so incredibly blinding, I can't even see where I'm shooting. Next up is one of my personal favorite abilities, the Current Burst.
Oh no.
It's basically a big AoE current blast, which does a lot of damage, or at least it did. I don't know if it does now. Yeah, 10 and 6. So a lot of damage.
Unarmored, at least.
And speaking of armor, the electrokinesis power is actually get some bonuses when you get the current armor. The current armor is crafted using various fabrics, circuits, and iron. Once you put on the current suit, you get a lot of bonus features, including the ability to fly. What current suit allows Current to do is ride on the lightning that he generates, and giving him that lightning trail while in flight. You can also still use a lot of the abilities while you're flying. Obviously the blast as well, which you can do while flying.
Drive-by nuclear strike.
Yep. And lastly, ties directly to the suit itself, the Current shield, which is just a good way for Current to be able to defend himself in combat. Current's powers actually do have an upgrade, and the upgrade is actually a completely different power. This power actually goes hand in hand with gamma radiation, like you would see on something like the Hulk. See, on the Enhanced SMP, the character of Current ended up almost essentially changing powers, and he did so by being exposed to gamma radiation, while also on Velocity 9. So, to get this upgrade, you first have to get the electrokinesis powers, like we just discussed. Then, you have to take Velocity 9, which we discussed earlier in the Speedster segment. And finally, you have to get the gamma radiation effect, which you can get by being near these dangerous gamma blocks. They spawn in the world around -40. Alright, so now I'm going to inject myself with Velocity 9, which does give me super speed.
So basically, the gamma blocks emit gamma radiation, and if you're not careful, you're gonna end up taking a lot of damage from them. The longer you're around them, the more damage you're gonna end up taking from each take of exposure, until eventually it'll become so strong that you just die. However, what Joe ended up doing was really unique. He ended up being on 2 really dangerous mixtures. So when the gamma blocks killed him, it ended up empowering his cells in his body.
And that's exactly what just happened to me. I would have died, however, because of the serums in my body, I managed to survive. And not only survive, but get a brand new power. Electric gamma radiation. To become Thundercrash.
Oh no.
You're done now.
Oh no. I'm innocent. And that did kill me.
As a Hulk-like character, Thundercrash's main ability is his transformation. By simply tapping C, you can go in and out of his Thundercrash form. The next ability he has is the Thunderclap. And I sort of, although I can do it on the dummies, which I'll do here, also has pretty good knockback on players.
Yo.
Thunderclap. Oh, wait, what? You had like at an angle. Then we have the Ground Slam with V. Not only does it do a lot of damage, but it has a massive radius. He actually has one final upgrade, the Current Gauntlets. The Current Gauntlets are basically a way for Thundercrash to harness his energy he previously had as Current that is still within his body. It's created using 2 Vibranium ingots, the old Current suit, a Vibranium flux capacitor, and 1 Netherite ingot. You can then apply it to the Kuros menu, and you'll see they go on kind of the body slot. And then if you press B here at the bottom to switch to this mode and press C, you can fully construct the Vibranium suit. So this allows you basically to keep all your benefits from the previous upgrade as Thundercrash. The next power on our list is Hexios' Soulfire magic. Essentially what I've always called the Minecraft equivalent of Doctor Strange. To get the Soulfire magic powers, you need to gain the knowledge from the Book of Hexios. The Book of Hexios is a craftable item made with crying obsidian, wither skeleton skulls, amethyst shards, and an enchanted flame book. And once you read the Book of Hexios, you then gain the Soulfire magic powers. And now that I've read it, you can see on the bottom right, all the powers start to appear. To actually activate all of his powers, you first need to toggle your magic. So again, I'm going to press C here, which is going to start my spell casting, essentially. The magic toggled, you can do a couple of things. Firstly, fly. The second thing is the basic attack, which again, as the name implies, is Soulfire magic. So by right-clicking, you actually do damage. As you're using the magic, you see it starts at, it actually does very low damage, just 2. But if you look on the bottom right, as that bar goes up with each hit, the damage starts to increase as well. So basically, the longer that Hexios is in combat, the more damage he'll do. And once he gets to, I believe it's 90% of his bar is full, he levels up with a visual trigger and sound. And there it is. That's his max damage form. As you can see now, at max damage, he's actually doing 8. Hexios also has another ability that can buff his bar, and that is the daggers. So by pressing V, he now summons his daggers. So if I press V while all the daggers are spinning around me, I'll send them each out. They do 7 per, but you'll notice 2 at the bottom. Each dagger hit really buffs your energy. Hexios has 2 suits. This is his Season 1 suit, and the Season 2 suit, which is actually turns him into Supreme Hexios. Oh, and another ability I forgot, which I can use now, the shield. Force fields also give burning and do damage when you're close.
Yep, it actually pushes me away if I try to get too close.
So the next power we have is Umbrakinesis, aka Shadow Manipulation. Now, to get Umbrakinesis, you need to create a Potion of Darkness. You need 2 Phantom Membranes, 2 Blaze Powder, 2 Amethyst Shards, and a Potion of Night Vision. All those together, you can just simply craft in a crafting table the Potion of Darkness. Cheers. After you drink it, you temporarily get darkness, but once it wears off, you'll then find yourself with Umbrakinesis.
I'm out of here.
See ya. Bro, that looks amazing. I love the way that the particles go and then just like disappear. The main feature of this power is your second ability, toggling the shadow form. So if I toggle the shadow form and then double tap spacebar, you then literally become a shadow. You also have another option for hovering. So if you double tap spacebar, you do have like a shadow hover, but you can't really move very far with it. We added it basically to make it so it would hold you in place and you could still use your abilities while being in the air, since you aren't able to use any of them while in your shadow form. Then you have the projectile attack, the actual shadow blast, or the dark pulse. 7? Wait, that's way more than I thought it was. That's overpowered, because then that ends up doing only 1.8 to the netherite armor. Now we're going to go over his 4th ability, which is the sword. A lot of the strong melee weapons do this much, and that's 10 damage. It also works with better combat, which we try to do with a lot of stuff just because it looks really nice. 10 damage, and obviously 15 with crits. If you're like more skilled than me, you can actually hit them. If you look at your ability list, when you pull out the sword, you'll notice that your projectile attack, the Dark Pulse, actually changes. This changes it to a Phantom Wave Swing. It allows you to continue fighting at long range, even if you're prepped for melee combat. The final ability for Umbrakinesis is the Shadow Dome. The Shadow Dome is triggered with the 3rd ability and basically creates an entire chamber of darkness. As Phantom Knight, it just looks like a box, but that's just because I'm the one doing it. What the Shadow Dome actually does to other people is it completely blinds them. So, Hertz, if you want to go ahead and put up the dome.
Dome up.
So now you can see as I step into it, it's not that bright cube anymore. Now I'm actually in total darkness.
Oh, I missed.
Phantom Knight has 2 suits. The Phantom Knight Tier 1 and Tier 2 suits. The Tier 1 suit is made with iron as its base material, whereas the Tier 2 suit is made with titanium as its base material, as well as the Phantom Knight suit itself, which all the suits require their previous upgrades. Next up, the size manipulation suits, Redstone Mech. Redstone Mech is essentially a combination of Atom, Ant-Man, and with a touch of Iron Man. And unlike the previous powers we've looked at so far, Redstone Mech's power is all suit-based. There isn't actually a superpower associated with him. It's all related to the suit. So this is the Redstone Mech Mark 1 suit. It's made with fabrics and various redstone devices. Iron Man-esque light. You'll notice too the suit is actually covered in redstone, so various redstone torches, various redstone contraptions. The main feature of this suit is the size manipulation. By holding down your 3rd ability and scrolling down, you become extremely small, just like Ant-Man or Atom.
He's so small.
Yeah. And then just to get another perspective, let's go ahead and switch. Look at how small he is. You're so small that you can actually slip in between blocks that are smaller than a full block. Like, look at this. Now I'm in between this chest and the wall. While you're small, you can still move around like normal, but you can't use any of your other abilities because that would just be way too OP. Now, going into the offensive abilities, the first one we have is the aim function. By holding down your top ability, you aim your gauntlet, and by right-clicking, you can fire. Go ahead and punch this to see how much this does. The second ability slot is grenades, and they have a pretty quick cooldown, so not only can you do pretty quick damage with them, but you can also fly overhead and, like, do bombing runs, I guess.
No, not the drone strikes, please.
You can also, like, throw them far, too, if you arc it. Ugh!
Yeah, they inherit the player's momentum, so like any other projectile, you just run a little bit, you could like throw them far.
In the last ability slot, you can also miniaturize the suit, so you can completely deconstruct it immediately and just shrink it down into your hand. Redstone Mech also has a Mark II version. The Mark II suit is a pretty decent upgrade. Not only does it require a bunch more redstone devices to craft, but it also has several extra features. The biggest change is you can actually toggle the power on the suit by pressing the top ability. The next big change is the aiming. Not only are the shots quite a bit quicker and explosive, it also has an alternate option. While aiming, if you hold left click, you also get a beam. And then also the grenades, these ones have like a redstone hue and are a bit stronger.
A bit. I'm seeing 14 damage.
Oh, sorry, are way stronger. Holy crap. And lastly, the flight is slightly faster. And with all that combined, the upgrade is definitely worth it. A really, really fun suit to use. Next up, we got the Nanotech suits. There are 2 Nanotech suits right now. The Rainbow Defender suit, which is essentially the Rainbow Iron Man, and the Iron Prism suit, which is sort of like a combination of Iron Man and Arrow. The Rainbow Defender suit is not done. It's actually in its like first stage. We sort of never touched it after we first made it because we didn't really need to for the purpose of our series. Just like the Redstone Mech suits, the Nanotech suits are just the power. There's nothing additional that you need to get. You just need to craft the suits. And the Rainbow Defender suit is crafted with titanium and iron as its base components. And you'll also notice when you put on the suit, its light layers come up. Very similar to Redstone Mech, it's got that Iron Man-like flight, since he is basically a rainbow Iron Man. So right now he's got 3 abilities. The first one is his defensive blasts, which you can use with the top ability. And if you look at it from this perspective too, watch this. See that the arms actually come out. As we were saying before, it is kind of still in its first build, so that's why it looks so sort of basic, but it's still pretty cool. Next up, we got the shield, which you can use with the second ability. You also notice that it goes on the left arm, and that's because it's one of his 2 combat abilities, the second one being in the 3rd spot, which is the Rainbow Knife. This version of Rainbow Defender is unique because you can actually use both at the same time. Again, pretty basic version of the suit right now because it is still in its first form. We don't really plan to modify it at all anytime soon, so we're going to come back to it, at a future date. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the second Nanotech suit, Iron Prism. Iron Prism is crafted in a pretty similar way to the Rainbow Defender suit, uses titanium as well as glass pieces, and he works completely differently. Because he's supposed to be a combination of a Nanotech Iron Man type character and an archer, he actually has gauntlets that can fire arrows. The Iron Prism movement is similar to the Rainbow Defender movement, but it doesn't have that top speed. He's supposed to be more of a precision-based combat type rather than a fast-moving Iron Man. The main feature we're going to be looking at is the arrows and firing the different types of arrows. These are all the arrows we have currently. The basic arrow, the diamond arrow, the explosive arrow, the healing arrow, the ender pearl arrow, and the knockback arrow. Each of these arrows has a different crafting recipe, but to make them, have to start by making the basic arrows. They're relatively easy to make. You just need normal arrows, some iron, and some blue dye. Once you have the basic arrows, you can then start moving into the more advanced ones, like the diamond arrows. The diamond arrows are basically the high damage arrows. Then you have the explosive ones, which obviously blow stuff up. The healing ones, which obviously give regeneration and healing. The ender pearl arrows, which teleport you to the spot where you shot them. And the knockback arrows, which push enemies back. So how exactly do you add the arrows to the suit? What might be confusing when you first look at the powers is that the top spot is actually locked. And that's because in order to load the arrows in, you have to crouch to unlock the power. You can then press the top ability to start loading all the arrows into the suit. By holding the last ability, you can scroll and cycle between all the different arrow types. Because we loaded in just basic arrows, I'm going to scroll until I find the basic arrows. To unload the arrows, in case you loaded the wrong type, or you just need them back for some reason, you can just scroll to the arrow that you want to unload from your suit, and then just press your first ability. By tapping the fourth ability, you activate the aim function, which actually places the arrows into the gauntlet. Now all I have to do is right-click at my targets. You can also rapid fire them, which is pretty cool. And you can collect them back if you manage to be the first one to pick them up. Now let's try a different arrow. So let's go back to our arrow list. So once again, we're going to hold these, we're going to crouch, and press the top button to load them all in. And you know what? While we're at it, let's just load all the arrows in. So once again, hold X and scroll until you find the explosive arrow, which is this one. Tap F to aim, and then right-click. Definitely is going to go through some reworks, but that's currently how it works.
Arrzee, catch.
Oh! Is that the knockback arrow?
Yeah.
What's cool about that one, too, is it actually makes a piston noise when you hit the person with it. You could just have the aim enabled while you switch arrows, which is also really helpful of knowing which one you're switching to. The other feature he has for combat is his vibranium sword. Iron Prism actually reaches into his chest and pulls out the handle of the vibranium sword. This thing is awesome. The only thing we still need to add to it is like a good animation with better combat.
And if you crit, it does 13.5.
Which is really good. We're also planning on doing some major reworks to Iron Prism for the start of the upcoming Enhanced season, so expect a bunch of his features to be changed or improved drastically in the coming months. Next up, we got the nuclear fusion power represented by Emberhail. You might be able to guess by looking at the suits that they are very heavily inspired by Firestorm. To get the nuclear fusion power is probably, honestly, one of the most dangerous. What you need to do is you need to get blown up by TNT while being in lava.
You want fire resistance?
Yeah, sure. The easiest way to probably do it is with fire resistance. That way you don't actually die. So now that I'm sitting in lava...
Fire in the hole.
Hey! So by combining the TNT with the lava, you get nuclear fusion. With the nuclear fusion powers, you can basically control fire. The main feature, like Firestorm, is the fire-propelled flight, which looks pretty cool with the particles. You know, the basic Palladium flight with a cool fire trail. I really like the flame particles as well. Then it has two other abilities. The first one is the fireball throws. They actually do a lot of damage. They're a little bit harder to hit because they're kind of slow, but that's kind of why they do so much damage, right? Makes up for it in the damage that it does. The second ability is the fire beam, which is kind of like a flamethrower. Is a lot weaker, but you can set your enemies on fire for a lot longer. It's also quite a bit easier to hit. You can also set nearby blocks on fire.
You also have fire aspect on your fists, so when you hit people, you'll light them on fire.
There's also one more hidden ability we didn't mention.
Oh, you also notice on the sidebar, you have a little bit of an energy bar that grows as you take damage. Let's see if we can get that all the way up. Tell me when yours is full.
Yep, mine's getting there.
Mine's all the way.
Mine is as well.
And I'm not sure if you'll notice, but there's a third ability that just unlocked.
This last ability is the nuclear energy release. Oh my gosh. So the nuclear energy release basically is a large explosion that lights the entire area on fire and does monstrous damage. Oh my god. Her powers actually get disabled when you're in water. So I actually can't do any of them since I'm swimming. This also applies to rain as well.
If you find some shade, though, you'll still be able to use them.
Yep. Lastly, let's go over the suits. It's made of magma cream, copper, and fabrics. Again, very heavily inspired by Firestorm. The Tier 2 suit is drastically different. It's actually made of titanium gold. So it's way more resistant and, honestly, a lot brighter and a lot better looking. The next power we're going to go over is the Napturgy power and the character Power Nap. Power Nap is way different than all the other suits for a number of reasons.
It's unique because the superpower still needs the suit to be used. So the powers go hand in hand with the suit.
Right. See, Power Nap is really supposed to be what I would call a sleeping Kryptonian. Definitely Kryptonian levels of strength, if not slightly below. But her powers, instead of coming from the sun, are based on sleep.
So to obtain Napturgy powers, you're going to need to kill 5 phantoms with the strength potion effect, and then take a nap.
You actually need potions of strength 2. Now all I gotta do is sleep. And there we go.
There you
You'll
go.
notice a bit of a weird effect for a second, and that's your powers activating.
Oh boy, I can't wait to use my powers.
Oh! The reason Hertz just exploded is because these powers need the suit for them to function properly. The suit itself is actually very difficult to craft. PowerNap's suit is called the REM Containment Suit. And the REM Containment Suit requires not only titanium and titanium gold, but also bits of vibranium. As PowerNap, you draw your power from taking naps and just sleeping in general. So you might be thinking, oh, I have to wait, until it's nighttime to get power. That's actually incorrect because her main feature is the ability to sleep anywhere at any time. So if I go ahead and press the bottom button, I will take a power nap. You'll see as I wake up from the nap, the charge goes up significantly. To get the full benefits from PowerNap's powers, you need to take as many naps as you can to fill up your bar. So we're gonna go ahead and take a number of naps here. As long as your bar isn't empty, you get every single buff that PowerNap has to offer. Firstly, it has normal hovering flight, but it also has really fast sprint flight. Because she's like a sleeping Kryptonian, she hits really, really hard. 21 for a base hit. Let's crit. 31.5 for a crit.
No way.
You also get access to her ranged attack, which is the beam. So if I go ahead and press the top button, from the chest piece, a powerful beam emerges and has some really, really good range. As I'm using this beam, the energy bar is dropping rapidly. And once that bar reaches 0, PowerNap loses all of her base features. Another thing you also lose when you run out of energy is resistance. PowerNap has a ridiculous amount of resistance and damage. She loses all of that when she doesn't have enough energy. And that's all the features that PowerNap has for now. We're definitely going to be adding more to her once we start the new season, but those will come in time. Next up, we're going to take a look at Cosmic Enhancement from Captain Kaisa. Captain Kaisa is based on Captain Marvel and has a lot of the same abilities you would see Captain Marvel with. To get Cosmic Enhancement, what you have to do is die while holding a Nether Star core, and it will act like a Totem of Undying, save you, and give you the power. The Nether Star core is extremely expensive. You need a Nether Star and 8 Vibranium ingots.
Not cheap at all.
No. In fact, one of the most expensive things, probably the most expensive power that we have to date. And after that explosion, you can see on the right-hand side, I now have the Cosmic Enhancement power. The Cosmic Enhancement power requires you to activate what's called Binary Mode to use the abilities. The Binary Mode is your second ability here on the bottom. So by pressing my second ability, I get completely consumed with this layer of light, like Captain Marvel does. And now that the binary mode is toggled, I have the full benefits of her flight. It's got a really cool looking trail. It's a little bit wonky with the tracking, with the Palladium flight, but it looks really, really cool. Kodak did a good job with replicating it as much as possible. Again, it's really the actual Palladium flight that bugs me the most. Just kind of the rotations and everything. Overall, it looks very, very nice. Another thing that you might have noticed by now is that when your binary mode is active, you actually are losing energy. And just like PowerNap, once you completely run out of energy, your powers get disabled. And you can also set things on fire. So she hits for about 10 damage and then 15 on crits. The top ability on the list is the Cosmic Beam. By holding the top ability, you have a really powerful ranged attack that you can use on enemies. That also drains your bar a lot. So what I actually have to do now that I've run out of energy is toggle my binary form off so it can recharge. Kaisa also has one more feature. I'm gonna go ahead and fly straight at you. Oh! Yeah, only I died from that?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, that's not how it's supposed to go. In fact, you're not even supposed to take damage from it. I don't know if it's because I'm without the suit. So Captain Kaisa's suit is actually pretty easy to craft. All you need is fabric and magma cream, and a little bit of gold. Basically, you can just fly through mobs and players to blow them up. It's a really, really cool feature, actually. It's just a little bit wonky at the moment. The next power we're going to go over is the Breacher powers from Vibeman.
Technically, it's named Warp Wave Manipulation, but I think Breacher is just way easier.
You might recognize it as Cisco Ramon's powers in the Flash TV series. We initially didn't have this power in our mod, but we were able to just add it in here before release. And Hertz did an awesome job with it in a very short period of time.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So to get Vibeman's powers, you're going to actually need a father box. But these can't be crafted. You have to find them naturally in the world. And if you press this button, it'll take us right there.
Ooh.
So this is the, try not to step on the magma. This is the Apocalyptic Ruins structure. And you'll see these as big arcs of netherrack with magma and lava around them. And to find the father box, all you need to simply do is break open some of the netherrack. Inside you'll find a father box. So if you want to grab that right for us. Holding the father box, you'll notice that you actually get to use some of its power. If you hold shift and then right click, you'll open up a breach menu. And from here, you can actually open up boom tubes / breaches to any location just by editing the coordinates by clicking buttons. You could load and save waypoints, and it works across dimensions. And you'll have access to some of Vibeman's powers just through the father box. But if you want to actually get the full suite of powers, I'll need to do something a little explosive.
Oh boy. Did I be staying this close?
That's fine. Hold the father box.
Ah!
You actually have his powers now.
I haven't seen these textures yet. They look really good.
But all props to Flash on that one. You did insane work. As a breacher, you have a whole new suite of abilities. Right off the bat, if you press your 4th ability, you'll have access to the same breach UI that you had through the father box. Opening the breach UI, press import current coordinates for me.
So by clicking import current coordinates, I've now saved the exact coordinates that I'm standing on, which you can also see by mousing over the active coordinates tab. So once I have my coordinates set, I can open a breach to the coordinates that I just saved. You first have to press the first ability to start using your powers, then press the second ability to open the portal to your coordinates. And that opens a portal to the coordinates we saved.
Oh, just as it was closing.
Yep. By far the coolest ability, I think, in this entire pack.
In the SMP, Vibeman actually has red breaches and red powers. So I reflected that by allowing us to have red breaches, red particles.
Which is awesome. The current coordinates I had was what, like right over here somewhere, right?
Yeah, around here.
If I want to change what I have saved, I can simply add different amounts to it, or subtract different amounts of those coordinates based on all of these blocks. So let's say I want it to be 10 blocks higher than where I currently had it. So since your y-axis is kind of your height, I'm going to go ahead and do y plus 10. And by looking at the active coordinates, you'll see that we just added 10 to the y coordinates. So if I open a new breach, it should be 10 blocks higher. Let's see. And there it is. This idea was completely created by Kodak, but improved upon by Hertz quite a bit.
I'm actually really happy with how it came out, though. This was an absolute blast to remake. We haven't even gone over all of it yet. There's still more.
So to save a waypoint, click Save Waypoint here, this bed at the top, to whatever coordinates you're currently set to. Let's say I want to save this waypoint to my second slot. Let's say I'm going to set my second waypoint right here for when we're done. I'm going to import my current coordinates. Now that I have this as the active ones, I'm going to save it. Now this spot is saved in my second waypoint on my menu. So all you have to do is click on whatever waypoint you want to go to, and that will instantly change what your active waypoint is set to. Top ability, then second ability, to open the breach, right to where I set it.
The third ability is actually one that I had a lot of fun adding back. It was the concussion ability. In the Flash CW show, Vibe ends up being able to use his blasts to almost hold a speedster in place. So we added that back with the ability of the concussion beam. Or he's not going to be able to move, it makes him vibrate around.
Yep.
And it's just a temporary kind of hold this guy in place ability. So you aim with your first ability, and then you use the concussion beam with your third ability. There you go. I can't move.
But that's not the only ranged attack that he has, right?
Just by aiming your arm, and if you right click, you have a just very simple blast with your beam. No, it's very powerful. But if you're a little peaceful guy, you don't want to do that much damage. Well, we actually have the ability to adjust how much it does. With the last ability, you could actually control the intensity of your beams. So just by pressing and holding the button and using the scroll wheel on your mouse, you can actually switch between the intensities. There's low intensity, which does 3 damage. There's medium intensity, which does 6. And then high intensity, which does 10.
Another thing that I really like is that it does look to be a little bit bigger. Is that right?
Yes, it does change size as you change the intensity.
Amazing, dude. And it is by far the coolest power. Like you, Kodak, and Flash, you guys all did an amazing job with it. It's so cool. So Vibeman's armor is actually pretty simple to craft. Leather, gold, and fabrics. Again, it sort of resembles the CW Flash Cisco Ramon armor. Personally, my favorite power in the whole mod.
I think that's everything about the power. Oh, I didn't show. You could right click with the father box to open a boom tube.
So the boom tubes basically does the same thing, but just the portal part of it, right?
Yeah.
The final power we're going to be looking at is connected to its own unique mod as well, which is releasing alongside this. So what we're going to do as we go over this power is we're going to explain how dampened works and how it ties directly to this power. This power is the power negation from the character Deadzone. The power negation ability dampens and negates anyone's abilities temporarily.
So to become Deadzone, you're first going to need to find his signature weapon, the dagger. It's inspired by Cicada's dagger from the Flash CW TV show, and you have to find it in the world somewhere. If you press this button, it'll take us to a little underground chamber where this chest around 00 contains the power negation dagger. The dagger itself does some pretty good damage, even though it has a really small range on it. It does about 3 hearts of damage.
You'll also notice that the dagger gives 2.5 minutes of several power dampening effects, and we're going to go over all those here shortly.
So once you have the dagger, you're going to need to craft a dampening block.
To make a dampening block, you need a bunch of blocks of titanium, a vibranium circuit, and a nether star fragment. The nether star fragments are made just by smelting a nether star. Once you have the dampening block, all you have to do is break it with the power negation dagger, which will cause an explosion and will fill your body with all of the necessary attributes to become Deadzone. So now I'm just going to go ahead and punch this for like 5 minutes.
There you go.
You'll be blind temporarily as the power enters your system, and when the darkness lifts, you will be Deadzone. Deadzone is very heavily inspired by Cicada, but kind of takes his powers to a brand new level. Now that you have the power, not only does the dagger dampen people, but also your powers naturally dampen people. If you remember from the Redstone Mech segment, he can actually activate his suit with the top ability. So this is a great way to visualize what exactly Deadzone can do.
When you activate Deadzone's last ability, it'll dampen every player in a 20 block radius around you. So as you see my suit powered off, some particles went over to him. I'm dampened for 20 seconds so long as I stay near him. And you could basically run me down. I'm essentially defenseless now. You get a variety of bonuses from dampening people around you. If you're going up against a team of Enhanced, you're going to need every edge you could get. And every single player that you successfully dampen around you gives you 1 additional heart and a couple additional armor points.
Basically, the idea is that when Deadzone's dampening is active, you basically have to run. Otherwise, you're not going to survive, because he's negated all of your abilities. So once you exit his radius, countdown starts from 20. See, the idea for Deadzone is that he's supposed to dampen as many people as he can, and then tag as many people as he can, preventing them from escaping. Because once he tags them with the knife, they get 2 full minutes of dampening. But if he doesn't manage to tag them with the knife and they can escape his radius, they can catch him while he's on cooldown. There's not really much you can do. Even if there's a team of like everyone we've talked about so far, when Deadzone walks in the room and dampens all of you, you're kind of screwed. Let's go over the rest of the abilities that he has, starting with the second one, which is the shield. Deadzone creates like a cloud of energy around him, and you can see it actually follows where you're looking, basically channeling all of that dampening power to shield and block any and all powers that may come your way. And because Deadzone canonically has super strength, he can also jump really, really high. Check this out. By holding down the third ability, you can jump extremely high. But this is where the suit actually comes in handy, because even though the suit isn't much more than just kind of a cloth suit, right? It actually does have one benefit, and that is a gliding suit. So when Deadzone jumps, you tap the spacebar, the wingsuit unfolds, and you can glide. This allows Deadzone to have some pretty decent movement if he needs to escape. He can also glide pretty far if you have the right angle. And the last thing that you'll notice is a fourth ability that's locked, and that is actually a shadow form, similar to Phantom Knights. In order to charge it, you actually have to deal damage with the dagger. And when your bar fills up enough, you can then activate it. Again, it works just like Phantom Knights. It doesn't last for very long. It's not meant to. It's just meant to be like a quick way you can escape. So now that we've covered all of the main powers, we have to talk about the actual dampening mod, which is required for Deadzone to work. And we're going to have Hertz do that since he created the mod.
Each of these different blocks adds a certain dampening effect to the player. This one here is specifically targeted towards dampening dark matter abilities and dampening genetic mutations. So speedsters like Speedburst, who get their powers from dark matter, would lose their ability to run around, use any abilities around this block.
Just to showcase this, I've given myself my speed back for a second. Watch what happens when I step into this radius. Boom. Power is completely gone. It also gives me 2 new effects, Dark Matter Dampening and Genetic Mutation Suppression.
But if you notice, I'm in the Redstone Mech suit. This isn't dampening me, because I'm a tech-based suit, so I draw my powers from technology, not dark matter or genetic mutation, so I can still use all my abilities, still throw all of these, and it works just fine. But if we take a look at this block, this is the EMP jammer. I mean, you could already see I stepped into the radius. My suit loses all powers. I can't do anything. I can't even fly. It depowers me. Any other powers, such as magic powers, dark matter, genetic mutations, they could still be used around this. So knowing your opponent's power source, knowing where they draw their power from is very important to properly use these. And then last but not least, we have the magic rune. I still needed a new texture for this. Hexios and other beings that draw their power from magic will get dampened around this. All of these are powered by Redstone, so you could have complex contraptions, a whole prison based around powering and depowering certain cells.
Right, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing with it in the upcoming Enhanced season.
So all of these blocks are just for area of effect. They dampen people indiscriminately in a radius, not caring too much about, who the individual is. But what if you had a vendetta against someone? What if you really wanted to make someone's day ruined? Well, handcuffs, belts, collars for dampening, all your dampening needs. Each of them say which specific power they dampen, and they also have keys associated with them so that you can unlock certain handcuffs, lock handcuffs.
So each of them is created using either titanium or vibranium. You also need nether star fragments for all of them because they are quite powerful devices. Let's say Hertz wants to dampen my powers. Hertz would use the dampening handcuffs because the dampening cuffs dampen dark matter, like my speed.
You can't just slap handcuffs on someone. You got to get them a little bit lower on health before you do that. Once your opponent or target is on 2 hearts of health or lower, make sure the handcuffs are active by shift right-clicking with them, and then take your target and right-click them with the cuffs. As you can see, he is dampened with dark matter. He loses his speed. He gets mining fatigue as well.
And now there's nothing I can do. My powers are completely gone. I can't really go anywhere or do anything. There's not really much else I can do, unless I'm unlocked by the key. You may be wondering where exactly it is, and that's because it goes right to the Kyros menu. It actually takes up a slot in there. And if I go ahead and hold shift on it, I can see that it is currently active and is linked to a key. So I'm locked in handcuffs, but I want to try to take them off, right? Let's see. Let me just try to rip them off real quick. I cannot take them off because the cuffs are active. The only way to unlock them is with a key. Keys which you can bind directly to the items that you make them with. To bind a key to it, you just craft it with a blank key. But for now, Hertz is using the creative master key to just unlock everything.
All you got to do is right-click on people with the key, and he gets his powers back.
The same goes for all the other objects, right? So while I'm at 2 hearts, you may as well try it.
Let's say my intel was wrong and I thought you got your powers from genetic mutations.
Right.
Just throw this on you.
So now I've got the dampening collar on, and it is active. So you might be wondering, why do I still have my speed? Because this only suppresses genetic mutations and not dark matter, like a speedster. Even though this is active and on me, it's not working. If your intel is bad, or you use the wrong device to try to dampen someone, it's not going to work. The dampening handcuffs, which dampens dark matter, will dampen the powers of the Speed Force, Electrokinesis, Umbrakinesis, the Breacher powers, and Power Negation. Yes, you can dampen the dampener. The dampening collar for genetic mutations disables the powers of the gamma radiation and Thundercrash, not current though, just Thundercrash, Emberhail, Power Nap, and Captain Kaisa. The tech dampening belt dampens Redstone mech suits, the Nanotech suits, and the Speedburst double jump, since it is tech-based. The golden kryptonite handcuffs currently don't dampen anything on this list, because we don't have Kryptonians in yet, but we'll probably add that somewhere down the line. The last one we didn't mention is the magic dampening ones, which dampen the powers of those like Hexios. And that's not even everything we have so far for the Arrzee Multiverse add-on. We're also working on a series of powers for the upcoming season of our Enhanced SMP, including Thor, a lantern ring, and so much more. These powers are all still in development and are now live exclusively for my active patrons. If you want to see where all these characters come from and enjoy Marvel and DC lore, check out the Enhanced SMP. And if you want to learn more about the progress of our new powers, check out our Palladium Superhero Survival series.